Welcome to Donnybrook. Next up, we are so happy to have you with us tonight. I am with Bill McClellan, and we are both so honored to welcome to our program Val Patton. She is the Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for Greater St. Louis, so she has a very busy job. Val, thank you for being here, and Happy New Year still, I suppose. We're in February.
Absolutely. It's a new year all year.
You know, we were in our preparation for tonight's programming. I was reading an article that you did about a year or so ago, and you were talking about the importance and how your focus at that time was concentrating and thinking about boomeranging, because you boomeranged, didn't you? You boomeranged
Absolutely
yourself
did.
from St. Louis, Washington, Dallas, and then back to St. Louis. Is that correct?
So St. Louis, D.C., St. Louis, St. Louis, Dallas, St. Louis.
So you boomeranged, and what I really loved about it was not only are you trying to make St. Louis more of a boomerang, an appealing boomerang destination, but you're trying to get people from smaller communities in the Midwest to think about St. Louis. Did you have a lot of success this year? Because you have a lot on your plate.
Well, that is an ongoing initiative.
Right.
When we talk about talent, so this is really about talent, and there are a lot of buckets when it comes to talent. So we have talent right here in the region that if they get access and resources, we get to develop them, looking at the industries in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years. We have people that live on the coast that find that the cost of living can be prohibitive, or they have family here and they want to come home. So we need to welcome them home and have plenty of opportunities in which they can feel. Then there are people that live in, and viewers, please know, I love every community in the United States. But there are individuals that live in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, and live in Wichita, Kansas, that may find St. Louis attractive, as it will look like a big city to them. So they will have all the amenities they don't necessarily have in their communities or have to travel hours to enjoy. So we have that bucket of talent. We have the talent that graduates from the over 47 colleges and universities in our region, the 2 years, the 4 years, but many of them leave after they graduate. So we have an opportunity to retain them, and then we get a chance to train up who we have. But also in this new labor market that's being created, with the great resignation, is we're going to be upskilling, reskilling a lot of individuals that may have been looking to exit the workforce, and now they're saying, oh, maybe I can stay another 10 and I can do something else. I can do something I didn't have a chance to do when I started my career. So when we really talk about it, we have so many opportunities. We have immigrant and refugee population that we can always grow, and you can always look to expand. Many of those individuals are already credentialed. So how do we get them into the workforce through what they have already developed? So we have a lot of opportunity to come home or make St. Louis home, because St. Louis is a great place to live, work, play, and invest. You know, I love D.C. Dallas was good, but at the end of the day, this is where, you know, my birth certificate says I was born. So you have, this is where I can make the change I want to see at the end of the day.
And what changes do we need to do, Ms. Patton? Like, as you look at the region, what are our problems? Or do we have any? Are things better than we think?
I'm the one that the glass is overflowing. So, you know, you have people that are half full, half empty. Mine always overflows. So I think we have opportunities. We have opportunities to create environments that are safe for people that are different from others, creating belonging environments, making sure we're welcoming people that are not like us, Let's learn from them, opposed to making them feel that they're not a part of the fabric of the community. We have the opportunity to use the talent that we have and make the opportunities available to them. So we are really beginning to see some shifts in the ecosystem around how do we hire talent? Where do we get the talent from? Do we need to change the way we look for talent? We all know about a piece of legislation in the state of Missouri around ban the box. That was keeping a population from being able to work. So we need to kind of change our mindsets to have a growth mindset opposed to a fixed mindset.
What is ban the box, Val?
So ban the box was if you had been incarcerated, then you would have to declare that on an application. So in many cases, we know if people checked that box, then they weren't available for the opportunity. Now, there are still some restrictions. Don't get me wrong. If you were a bank robber, you can't work in a bank. But maybe that person can load a truck.
Yeah.
So we were missing a population by having that one little box on an application.
Do you think that have we reached a point post-pandemic where, we feel like we're kind of through the worst of the pandemic, please, but do employers need to also hit the reset button when it comes to looking again at candidates that perhaps before they might have passed over?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's where we say, we talk a lot about the Delmar divide. And north of Delmar, there's a lot of talent, but they have broadband issues. They have transportation issues. Public education is unfortunately in many districts not performing. So we have to make the resources and the access available to all. So they have the opportunity to know what are the next gen industries that I can work in and learn about them and begin to prepare themselves if that's an industry that they want to work in. Because you can't wait until, you get out of high school and say, oh, I think I'm going to do this. You have to cultivate some interest along the way. I know you're both parents, and what happened was, I think I started out being a lawyer, a doctor.
Astronaut.
Yeah, lots of things. But at some point in time, you kind of find your lane, but you still change over time because I'm an accountant and IT person by profession who is also a social worker, who is also now in seminary. So my interests have changed over time, just to say a little bit, but there's some common threads in all that. So how do we play to people's strengths? How do we create opportunities for others? And there are lots of opportunities. But to your point, Wendy, there are some other things we have to do. You can't do, the paradigm is shifting now. So putting a job ad in a paper and think that, and I know you both can remember this and it will be kind of funny, where you got the classified section and you get a red pen and you circle what you want to do. Well, those days are, I think, kind of gone. So if you can't put it on a smartphone or tablet, if, print media, people are not going to pay as much attention to. Are we going to put it on TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat, all of those? Because that's what today's individual is looking at. Even some people as young as us.
Well, that's you too.
As young as us. But when you really start looking at it, that's why I talk about we have to have that growth mindset. If we really want to go get the talent, we're going to have to probably mobilize our churches more, our community centers more. The things that we haven't necessarily done in the past, or we've done at a very limited level, it is basically we have to go to the people, because if we wait for the people to come to us, we're going to lose a lot of people because they just don't have the resources or the access to get there.
You know, the St. Louis and the region is coming into so much money. I mean, the infrastructure bill, the COVID money, the Rams money. If somebody would have put you in charge of that, Ms. Patton, and say, how should we spend this to help? Like, what is it you'd like to see accomplished in St. Louis region in the next, say, 10 years? And how would you spend some money on it?
That is a loaded question because I have my personal passions. I would like to see a good amount of that money work at creating systems that will eliminate poverty.
What kind of systems are you talking about?
So poverty is generally the root of most of your issues. So I want to see education systems improved, especially public education systems, housing improved, wraparound services for those. So let's look at it like this. We're in a school district. So I would like to see the school district be accredited A+. I want to see that every student in that school has everything they need. So if that's mental health services, social work services, tutoring, everything that they need, we would call those wraparound services. Food, to eliminate food insecurities, health insecurities. Make sure that they have the access to the knowledge for job opportunities. You know, start cultivating. Okay, we may know what the new industries will be in 10 years. So let's start cultivating and let's start building community, that everyone in community is getting the same access as everybody else. Like, I live in one of those zip codes that we go from 100% free and reduced lunch to $1 million houses. Okay, so I think the kids on free and reduced lunch should get the same things those kids living in $1 million houses are getting. And we need to kind of equalize, so this money, it can go to a myriad of programs. So we have very good programs in our region. We have very good nonprofits that do this work. But one of the things that we don't do well is collaborate and partner. So I got my nonprofit, I got my nonprofit, I got my nonprofit, where we're all doing the same thing. We're going to have to learn how to talk together, work together, so we can put all these nonprofits together to be able to rise up the community. So I don't know that there's anything. I want to see money go in a lot of different places to do the work that's already started, because we've done a lot of work. I mean, you look at, we have a stellar United Way, we have a stellar Urban League. They're doing the food giveaway at the Urban League is great. But it really goes beyond just giving away the food.
You know, one last financial question. I mean, I was talking about how we're having hundreds of millions of dollars come in. And it seems so great, but the newspaper had a story in Sunday that the bike paths from Forest Park to Fairgrounds Park to the Arch.
Brickline.
Yeah, the Brickline is going to be $245 million. And I thought, if it's just so expensive, everything. I mean, all these things you're talking about, I think, well, we got millions coming in, but I mean, what do you think about the Brickline? $245 million for
I
that.
think the Brickline is an opportunity for us to really begin to break down the divide. And if you look at any other major metropolitan area, you will see a Brickline. New York is the High Line. where you go through in Atlanta. I can't remember the name of it. In Indianapolis, it's the Heritage Trail. But they have transformed neighborhoods. And they have brought people together that would have never been together before. So it is an investment I think we need to make. I think we need to make it, because if we don't make it, and I mean, it's very thoughtful and planful, I think you will see neighborhoods begin to come together and grow. You will see opportunities for new jobs, because you'll have restaurants open and maybe small shops open and the like. You may even have a mid-sized company that says, oh, I want to sit right here. You will see the opportunity for housing, be it renovated or new. You will just begin to see the difference. I mean, like I said, if you go to any major city, there is some form of the Brickline.
And that's
Right.
like the bike path. You
Yeah, the
will
bike path, walking
transform the
path.
city like that.
Right. And then because everything grows up around it.
That's right. And that's what young people have to see. And you mentioned just a moment ago how important it is to strengthen our educational system. What happens, Val Patton, if we don't? If we don't do that at this very critical juncture, what does the future look like without a strengthened educational system for our young people?
Oof. We'll still be working. We'll still be working, because we won't have individuals that will have developed critical thinking skills, discernment skills, social skills, to be able to hold employment. I've talked to a few employers who work in the fast food industry, and one of them has a significant number of openings. And they said it's not that the people are not applying. They don't have the social skills. So, you might drive up to the drive-up window and they throw the hamburger at you instead of, hi, how are you? So education comes in so many different forms, too. So it's not so much always the formal education, but what is your education in your community? I always say, if you see better, you do better. So you have to really look at, how do we get the individual that might be a little rough around the edges to a point they can work, maybe start in a call center, but will have the opportunity to move up. Or every kid worked at McDonald's. So, they know that they didn't have to stay there. I love to tell a real quick story about my godson when he decided that education was important. Is when he worked loading trucks at Walmart. And he was like, and the old guys were telling him, you don't want to do this all your life.
Get an education.
Get an education. And education is different. It can be a trade.
Vo-tech, right?
Which they had a lot of when I was coming through school. So you got trades, you got 2 years. Now things are so different. And you can make a livable wage without a 4-year degree. You just have to know, here are all my options. Let me see what's going to be good for me.
Quickly, could you talk about the soft skills? And there's that gap when it comes to soft skills. Could you share with our viewers, when we hear the term soft skills, what you're talking about?
It is how to say please and thank you. It is how to be able to monitor the tone in your voice. It is the ability to make reasonable decisions, good critical thinking skills. But for me, it's a lot of things that we don't like to talk about. It's to be able to have empathy, not sympathy, but empathy, to be compassionate. And to really, and the empathy part is about you put yourself in that other person's place. Your checker at the grocery store. Just because you had a bad day, you do not have to take it out on the checker. But the checker has to be able not to react. So when we talk about soft skills, it's really how do we build relationship? How do we deal with one another? And being able to accept people for who they are and what they bring to the table. Now, there are some people that are not very nice. Okay, but you don't have to be not very nice back to them.
Right.
You know, so when we talk about those soft skills, they come into a big package. You know, and these are things you learn over time. And these are things, no, you don't learn in a formal course, but you learn it at home, you learn it on the playground. You know, soft skills. How do you work with somebody? How do you play nice in the sandbox?
How do you translate these thoughts into action, Ms. Patton? Like, what's a day in your life like? Like, are you calling on businesses, talking about inclusion and diversity, or what do you do to try to make things better?
One, I'm an active community citizen. So I make sure that my passion is around education. So I've been appointed to the Normandy School Collaborative. I actually live in that district, so I have a lot of concern, and a graduate of that district. So I really have a lot of concern about where they've been and where we can potentially go together. I've just been appointed a regent at Harris Stowe. I care about education because I think everybody should get the same education and they should have the same resources. So that's a little bit about me outside of work.
Right.
But in work,
Yes.
I talk to everybody at the end of the day. So today was a day I spent some time with Chris Kramer from Beyond Housing talking about housing, you know, but how he's looking to do some different things that is not just housing. Spent some time with an initiative at Washington University called Homegrown STL, which is an initiative around African American males from 12 to 29, and really providing them wraparound services, making sure that their trauma is dealt with, making sure employment opportunities are available to them, education opportunities are available to them. Then I spent some time in North County with Restoration and Refuge, and they are a church in North County who has purchased the old Springwood Plaza in Dalewood on West Florissant, just on the other side of Ferguson, right on the other side of Chambers Road. And they're turning that into a full service. The church will be there, but they'll have job services, health services, food, some others. So it's called R&R Marketplace. So in my day job, one of the things that we do is multicultural leadership development. That program's in its 16th year, where we have over 1,000 graduates.
And could we pick up, because it has been the fastest half hour I believe we've had in a very long time, but you're talking about multiculturalism, but the future is going to have to be equitable, and it's going to have to be inclusive, and it's going to have to be diverse. And we have about 2.5, 3 minutes left. Val, how do we do that? What is that going to look like?
Equity is access for all to everything. So we can't just have one person getting one thing and the other person doesn't get it, or they get a piece of it, or whatever. So the opportunities are going to have to be available to everyone. And that is going to have to go through information sharing. That's going to be having people at the table that you wouldn't have at the table before. You know, you've got to accept other thoughts and processes on how to get things done. You know, 6 + 3 = 9, 5 + 4 = 9, but we all get 9. So at the end of the day, we're going to have to be able to open ourselves up, like I said, that growth mindset, to say, hey, we're going to get there together. We just all may get there differently.
Is there any single thing you think that government could do?
Oh, we got policies to change. We've got procedures to change, but that will take time. You know, that will take time. So it will come. I mean, government, everybody plays into this. This is education, government, faith communities. Everybody plays into this. But this whole thing is around equity is I get the same thing you get and you get. And then to be able to use that for a greater good.
This is not the time, and we have about 40 seconds. This is not the time for turf protection, is it? This is a time for, as you said, inviting young people, different views to the table. What is the role in 30 seconds, Val, for the what do the old guard? What is it for the old guard to do? What does the old guard need to do at this again, this very important?
Be inviting and not be afraid. For me, be willing to have that conversation with somebody you have not had that conversation with before. Be able to ask the question. But I think one of the biggest things that paralyzes any form of growth is fear. So we have to be able to come outside of ourselves and say, hey, I got a question. And it might seem crazy, but, and be willing to process the information. You don't have to accept it, but you can, take it in. We can all learn how to agree to disagree. But if it's something good, let's try it. Failure is the best lesson in the world.
And that is the perfect place to leave it, I think. We're going to have you back, Val Patton.
Thank you.
Val
Thank you.
is the Chief Diversity and Equity, and Inclusion Officer for Greater St. Louis, Inc. And as we said, she's got a full plate, but you made time for us tonight and for our viewers, and for that, we really thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been a pleasure and an honor.
You'll have to come back.
I will.
Thank you all for watching this edition of Donnybrook Next Up. On behalf of Bill McClellan, I'm Wendy Wiese and our entire crew here at 9 PBS. Have a great weekend.